So Donegal Centurion Shaun Patton is with me. 101 appearances for Donegal now as of the All-Ireland final. 8 seasons, 6 Ulster finals, 4 Ulster titles, and the greatest success of them all, Shaun, is that you're just back from Rome and you're an engaged man.
Yeah. Come here, it was a long time coming. So I was glad to get it over the line, to be honest. I was under pressure for a couple of years there. So
Yeah, you always deliver under pressure, though. You know, you're not afraid to make the big calls.
oh, I don't know now.
Come here. What's the fallout been like since the All Ireland final? I mean, I've obviously never been in that position. I always wonder what it's like, you know, to lose an All Ireland final, and then what happens in the weeks after. Like, do you get together at any stage, or do you sort of just happy enough to go your own way?
No, listen, don't get me wrong, it's tough. It's been a tough couple of weeks there, to be honest. And I think a lot of the lads was happy to just get away for a while and getting holidays and stuff like that.
Yeah,
Obviously we'll meet up at some point, but at the minute I think it's still fairly raw. I suppose
yeah,
it'll probably not sink in properly until kind of we do gather up together and kind of figure out what happened in the final, I suppose.
yeah.
We probably didn't. It's probably the worst performance all year.
Mm.
To do it on the biggest day is quite tough. And as you say, Kerry were just a better team on the day, and obviously it's hard to take.
It must be a weird one. Like, you probably still celebrate a bit that night. You know, you get together. I'm sure there's drinking and a bit of crack, but like, because it has been a really good season. Like, that's the funny thing, and I always think about it from Derry. It's all relative. Like, if you're getting to 2 semi-finals in a row, if you're getting an All Ireland final, if you're winning Ulster twice in a row, and yeah, I think Donegal played the most games of any team ever in the championship last season. So it was very much a good season. But like you say, it ends that way. What way does the rhythm go then? Is the changing room a bit flat, or like do you still manage to enjoy the night at the end of it all?
Come here, there's just huge disappointment, to be honest with you, and I can only speak for myself, and well, I suppose most of the lads are the same. Like, but you're going home bitterly disappointed. It hasn't been a case where I haven't really looked back on the year as such in a positive light just as yet.
Okay.
I suppose it's still a bit raw, and you're questioning yourself in terms of the final and what could you have done more of than that. But again, I suppose that's every footballer kind of going back over things and enjoying the night. Maybe not. I suppose it's nice to get together. It's nice to have a couple of drinks with your family and your friends that have made it up for the game and for the dinner after.
Mm.
And obviously spend a bit of time with the boys in a social aspect rather than
Yeah.
the footballing side of things. But again, I can't say I enjoyed my couple of days. I enjoyed getting a couple of beers, but whenever you get away from that, it's bitterly disappointing, and obviously you're just eager to get going again and hopefully get back to where we were last year.
Yeah, like you said there about questioning yourself. It's like, were you doing that after the final? Like, I watched it back. I don't remember seeing much different that you could have done. Like, are you that hyper
Yeah.
analytical of yourself?
I like to look back and see as a kick-out you maybe missed and stuff,
Okay.
and possession we might have been able to get that maybe I didn't see on the day and stuff like that, and kind of analyze it that way. Obviously, I was looking at myself to see is there anything else I could have brought to the table, but again, we'll hopefully gather together as a group over the coming months or weeks and kind of go through it that way,
Yeah. What have you made to the reaction to the final? Don't worry, this isn't an All Ireland final show, so we're not going to spend the whole time talking about it. But I can give you the three, I suppose, bigger talking points that came out of it, and this is sort of the view from the outside. But the top three things that I would have seen are, Donegal shouldn't have broken from the parade was one of them. Donegal shouldn't have stuck to his zonal system, and you should have tried more 2 pointers. But I'd much rather, I suppose, know what the view from the inside was, or what you were thinking anyway.
Well, as I say, everybody's going to have their opinions. Like that's just the way things are. We prepared as best we possibly could for the game, and when you look back in it, there's no other thing that I can bring up or I can say that is anything other than Kerry were the better team on the day.
Mm.
And for me, it's just as simple as that. To be honest, I don't think there's any real other factors that play into that game other than Kerry they were just better on the day.
Yeah.
Obviously, as hard as that is to take,
Yeah.
I think it goes back to being basically as simple as that.
Yeah. 8 years must have flown by for you now. So obviously your journey's well told at this stage. From soccer and then your return back into Gaelic football as a man, I suppose. But one point that really highlights it, I think, is the 2014 McLaren Cup final. So that's the Ulster Schools B competition. If anybody doesn't know what that is, but you're playing with Letterkenny, and it was Cahir O'Kane in the Irish News, an old colleague of mine. He told me that in the programme for that final, all the players were listed and all the clubs were beside them, and alongside Shaun Patton's name, the club was Finn Harps. So you're very much a
Yeah,
goalkeeper first, and then it doesn't matter what sport it is.
I suppose looking back on it now, I thought it was like come here, my club's always been student unions.
Yeah, yeah,
I pulled away from it and made the decision to obviously focus on the soccer at a young enough age, and probably looking back, probably too young.
yeah,
Like if I was gonna talk to any young players out there that are caught between both codes, I would say play as much as both of them for as long as you can, and
yeah,
obviously I was heavily involved in the soccer, and like that what my focus was, and I was adamant I was going to make a career at it.
yeah,
And I thought, obviously, looking back, when I put Finn Harps down as my club in the program, it's silly. I thought it was funny at the time. When you're looking back, it's because I was there just kind of maybe trying to rag a lot of the staunch GA men around unions and stuff. Like it was a bit of crack. It wasn't
yeah,
anything malicious or anything, but I was always trying to get a wee bit of a reaction for a bit of crack
yeah,
out of the boys. And to be fair, I got it. It's got good enough. It's got good enough coverage. And I suppose, what are we chatting 11 years later? People still bring it up every so often. So I do get a giggle, but again, maybe it's a wee bit silly when I'm looking back on it.
yeah. Well, what have you found? Obviously, now you've excelled now in both sports, I suppose, and you're well down this path now in terms of GAA. But what have you found the difference between goalkeeping across soccer and into Gaelic football? Because I was thinking about, even just from a point of view of, like, you're dealing with crosses all the time in soccer, and the trajectory of the ball in Gaelic football is coming straight in at you, which you wouldn't really have to deal with a ball like that in soccer, and obviously nobody's coming up and punching it as well. Like, that must be one of the bigger differences that you find.
Yeah, come here. Goalkeeping as an aspect, as you say, if you chat to most goalkeepers, the basics are all the same
Okay.
across every level. If you're chatting to Gaelic football, if you're chatting soccer, it doesn't really matter. But when it comes to them kind of wee different things, obviously the emphasis on kickouts when I started playing for Donegal and St Unions again was huge. Possession was a massive part of the game, and obviously still is.
Yeah.
That was a huge part because there was so much emphasis put on it, and it was very important to get your kickouts away. And then obviously, yeah, the high balls again, completely different trajectory than I was ever used to.
Yeah.
As you say, the ball was a lot flatter, and it was a different kind of way of dealing with the ball in soccer as it was to Gaelic. And don't get me wrong, it took me a long time to get to figure it out, I suppose. And it's a lot more challenging dealing with a high ball in Gaelic football than it would be as a cross in soccer. But as I say, it all comes down to practice and working hard at it.
Yeah. And then, like, what, even from a shots point of view, like, are they different? 'Cause obviously one's coming from the ground and the other's coming from hands, and I suppose in Gaelic football, usually when somebody's straight through on you, they're letting us with a shot.
Yeah, well, as I say, there's a lot different in terms of shot stopping element because in soccer you could be facing shots from all over the place
Yeah,
in terms of they're shooting. They could shoot from 20 or 30 yards out, and
yeah,
dealing with that in a different aspect. But in Gaelic football, normally it's within 13 meters most of the time,
mm,
and a lot of the time your reactions need to be sharper. You need to be able to be braver and probably make yourself bigger to close down angles in terms of the shot stopping and in Gaelic football.
yeah. I wonder, like, do you find it different? Like, I think in soccer, the keepers would be a bit more. You're talking about being reactive there. The keepers would almost be proactive as well in soccer, where they're guessing or they're trying to. Obviously, that's in penalties as well, where you'd see the players who have played soccer are better able at reading the situation beforehand. But do you think that stands to you then, having that sort of in your arsenal?
Um, Come here. I suppose it probably does in some aspect. I suppose like dealing with the stopping element. I've been used to dealing with angles and shots from different angles a lot, and I suppose that probably helped me
Yeah,
in Gaelic football. I obviously got a lot of coaching at an underage level with the soccer, which I probably don't think I would have got in the Gaelic football, because I think it's a huge thing that's missing, is the emphasis on teaching goalkeepers the basic, as
Mm,
opposed to soccer, where they need to be good at the basics, and there's a lot of coaching for that.
yeah. Well, why do you think that is? Like, is there like a thing in GA where it's almost just like, well, that guy will play net, so he can head over there and work away himself?
Yeah, it's hard to know. It is. It's hard to figure that one out, because it's obviously a very important position,
Yeah,
and not alone just the coaching and the goalkeeping aspect of things, but being able to be coached how to kick a ball and learning how to kick a ball and finding what works for you is massive. Some people, and I feel sorry for them, they'd be thrown into nets and they just be expected to work miracles and know straight away how to kick a ball and find its target. Like,
yeah.
it's not that simple. It takes a lot of work, and obviously a lot of coaching around it.
It's good that you brought that up, because I was really trying to think of an interesting way to ask this question, or definitely a less childish way. But anybody I've spoken to, when I said, "Oh, Shaun Patton's coming on," they all wanted to know the same thing. How the hell do you kick the ball so long?
Yeah, I do, there's no magic formula, I suppose. Growing up, I've worked an awful lot on kicking the ball. It's
Yeah,
something I used to work on all the time. And again, it was just, I suppose, adapting to Gaelic football, learning how to kick the ball. And for me, most of it's just technique.
yeah,
Obviously, it's it's no secret that intercounty players are in the gym a large majority of the time, and obviously the power that you gain in the gym, it's been able to put that from the gym onto the pitch
mm.
and make it relevant to you and your position, I suppose. And I think, thankfully, I've had a lot of great help in that aspect, and been able to use that. And I think that's, for me, finding a technique that worked for me, as well as building the strength and power to be able to do it, is for me, is the only answer I can give.
Where would be the most strength and power that you're trying to develop? Is it your quads, or like, you were?
No, well, like, it all comes as part of one package. Obviously, you need to have strong legs,
Yeah,
but your core and that side of things needs to be really strong as well.
okay,
And working on that. And come here, I can guarantee every other keeper in the country is doing the exact same.
yeah.
And like, as you can say, I every keeper, I would imagine, can kick the ball 70 or 80 meters.
Yeah, but like,
You know what I mean? They
you could do
can,
it.
but
You could do it with one step though. Like, that's the unique thing about you, and then the trajectory as well, which we could get
yeah,
into.
again, that just comes down to technique.
Mm,
That comes to something that I've worked on for years. Like, that, it didn't happen on one occasion, if you know what I mean. That
yeah,
that come from just practicing what works for me, and finding the right technique for me to strike the ball.
and that's years and years and years. You're telling me, like, so if I,
But that's coming for as long as I'm playing football, I suppose. Like,
yeah,
because it's like, when I started playing soccer, it was one of them things. It was like, you needed to be able to kick the ball out from your 6 yard box,
yeah,
and it wasn't playing around the back was a massive thing when I was younger. So you needed to be able to land it out towards the halfway line.
yeah.
And like, I wasn't very good at the start, absolutely not. And as I say, I worked with coaches, and I used to spend a lot of time in the garden practicing at home and stuff. So like, that's where that comes from for me.
Yeah, and so in the soccer, were you developing that type of trajectory that you have, or was that very much when you came into GA then and saw what way it was going?
No, I suppose that, like, that's the way it's been worked for me the whole way through.
Okay, yeah,
Obviously, in soccer, there's different kinds of trajectories you need to hit the ball. If you need to hit it flat to get it to somebody's chest, or
yeah,
if you need to put it high for somebody to challenge for a header. Do you know that it comes around being able to do both,
yeah,
being able to try keep it flatter, and also put it a wee bit higher, depending on what the receiver's looking
yeah.
for, I suppose.
Because I remember Declan Bonner, who obviously brought you into the Donegal squad. Like, it was 4 years later, I think. So he'd seen you playing with St Eunan's in 2014, and by the time he gets the job in 2018, he's still thinking about that type of kick out that he watched you do in the Ulster Club Championship, and he couldn't get it out of his head, obviously, and he convinces you to come back then.
Yeah, I suppose it's funny. Like, I was absolutely delighted the opportunity came out when Declan asked me, and like, I was given a couple of opportunities to come into the Donegal panel, but I was adamant that I was sticking with the soccer. I was still 18, 19, 20, thinking that I still possibly had an opportunity to make a good career in the League of Ireland, or like possibly make it abroad.
Yeah,
Like, and whenever things weren't probably going that well in soccer, you're kind of questioning, have I made the right decision in that? And obviously, come the end of my soccer career, I was on the fence of whether I was going to go back or not, anyways. But whenever the opportunity came to join the Donegal panel, and when I did, I never looked back. It was like an addiction, to be honest. You go
yeah.
straight in, and you were just buzzing to get around and be
Okay.
involved with everybody who wanted to be there.
So it was just like the right time for you then.
Just thankfully, like, I was asked probably 2 years in a row before that by, I think it was Maxi Curran and Rory Gallagher was
Yeah.
the manager of the under 20s at the time, or the under 21s that it was at that time. And like they'd asked me on a couple of times, and I did train once or twice with them, and it wasn't for me at that time. And
Yeah.
then whenever the next opportunity came, I grabbed it with both hands, to be honest, and I thoroughly enjoyed it ever since.
I read one of your old coaches, James Gallagher, in the Irish News saying that he sent it to you, and the quote was, "You analyse the shit out of training sessions and games." Like, is that part of, I suppose, your week to week?
I suppose it is. Like, I'm not going to say overanalyze. I'd like to think I like to do things right
Yeah.
and work hard at it. And if things aren't working for me, then I need to figure out why it's not working for me, and I need to figure out how to correct it, I suppose. I'd say that's probably where James is coming at from there.
Mm.
Saying like, if I had a bad night of training, or like you can't be perfect every day. I suppose if you had a bad game, I'd always be adamant to figure out why that happened. Was it something to do with preparation,
Yeah.
or why that happened? I suppose that's probably what James is talking about there. Like.
Yeah. And then do you have like, would you change something then? So even if you had a bad training session, I don't know what it is, if you're kicking the ball not as well, or if you're not dealing with high balls as well, like are you going back then and trying to adjust something for the next training session?
I suppose it's not really adjusting anything you're doing on the pitch. What I would find a lot of the time, it's probably something to do off the pitch.
Okay.
Your preparation beforehand, be it like, have you fueled your body correctly? Have you slept properly? Obviously, whenever I joined the job I'm in, I was doing night shifts and stuff, and it took a large
Yeah.
effect on my body as well. But being able to balance that then and find a balance for that was very important as well. So, like, them kind of things for me, it wouldn't be on the pitch. I'd be quite confident that what I'm doing on the pitch is right,
Okay.
but it's what you're doing off the pitch to make sure that you can perform on the pitch, I suppose, is where I'd be looking.
Would you find that creeping into your head and say you haven't, or maybe you feel like you haven't prepared as well as you could have? Do you think then that gives you a little bit of a weakness that you don't want in your head then if you know I haven't slept as
Uh,
well?
Not necessarily, no. I suppose I'm around long enough now to know, like, over the course of the week, you prepare properly, and then if you have one bad night's sleep, it doesn't affect you that much.
Yeah.
To be honest with you, it's not something that it would affect me. But as I say, if you were to have a bad game, it wouldn't affect you going into the game. But if you were to have a bad game, you would definitely go back and look at, geez, where could I improve on there? I suppose.
Yeah. Do you look at stats much, Sean? Like, because you're an interesting one to me if you are good at analysing everything that you're doing. But you're very happy to take the what you would call the low percentage kick. So if you are looking at stats, do you factor that in then as well that you're trying something harder? I mean, you could get 100% kicks if you're going to the cornerback, maybe in the old game, but do you sort of adjust it for you're trying harder kicks?
No, not necessarily. No, it doesn't. Like, I don't read into stats too much.
Okay,
Obviously, they're a huge asset to have, and it's important to use them. But again, whenever you're on the pitch, the last thing you're thinking about is stats. All you're thinking, for me, I just try to think on. I just want to get the hands and ball,
yeah,
and then if you can do that for your team, then you're doing your job, I suppose, and you're helping the team in the right direction.
yeah. I was wondering. I don't know. Do you have a goalkeeper union or like a goalkeeper WhatsApp group that you'll stick together in, or are you looking at other performances and I'm thinking of say the Armagh Kerry game where afterwards everyone's like, oh god, Armagh should have gone long over the top, but that's obviously something that you have in your locker then as well. Would you find yourself watching a game like that thinking, oh, it's nice that I would have that option if I wanted to?
No, not necessarily. As I say, you could break down the Kerry game against Armagh, I suppose, and you could say that 15-minute period was
Mm.
huge for Kerry, which it was, obviously. But as I say, people don't understand within the new rules. They're used to keepers getting 95% of their kickouts away.
Yeah,
This year was a huge challenge for every keeper, I would imagine. With the obviously the large arc trying to get the ball outside it, it becomes a lot more difficult.
yeah,
And I think people just struggle to realize that keepers aren't getting their 90% anymore. Like they're
yeah,
not getting their 95% or 100%, should you say, in some cases. But like I would say probably it's floating between 60 and 70% for most games, like,
yeah,
and maybe even lower sometimes. And just because that 15-minute period was so difficult for Armagh, it doesn't mean that it didn't work for them for the rest of the year, because they were doing it all year and it was very effective for them. And it
yeah,
just, at that period in time, they stuck to their game plan, and it didn't work out for them at that stage, like.
yeah. Did you change your strategy from, I think it was the Monaghan game, the first half, and then the second half he came out and blitzed them. But it seemed like definitely in the Kerry game in the final anyway, it was all overloads. And maybe I'm just reading that wrong. But did you sort of during the quarterfinal decide, right, we're going to go this way now instead and stick with that for the rest of the year?
I wouldn't say it was a decision. Everything changed. Nothing really changed that much. Obviously, Monaghan came with a really aggressive zonal press, and they were very hard to move,
Yeah,
and they were very, very good at it. And that, if you're going to be brave like that, to be able to do that, you're going to get joy sometimes. And
yeah,
we seen that in the Monaghan game. It put us under savage pressure.
yeah,
But no, again, it just comes with what suits. If your shorts or medium clips aren't on and you can't find a spare man, then the ball's going long and under these new rules, and
yeah,
it's a fight for the break 90% of the time whenever they do go long, unless somebody's standing in an acre of space.
yeah,
And that just becomes part of the game now, and it seems to be what the FRC and all the spectators seem to want, is more high fielding, more breaking ball and stuff like that. So that's just become a new part of the game again. That was probably there 20 years ago, I suppose, maybe not even 20, but
yeah.
that was.
What do you want in that though? Like, because we've seen you, and we still saw you do it in fairness this year as well. But hitting that, it's almost like a through ball. It's a 7 yard through ball onto the chest of somebody who's running on. Would you sort of think, that's something we're really missing here now?
Yeah, you could chat to loads of people and their opinions might be split. I really enjoyed the challenge of the large arc because it made it so much more difficult. But again, on making that more difficult, the keeper loses control of being able to control the game for his team,
Yeah,
getting the ball in hands. So there's positives and negatives to it. Obviously, some of the high fielding this year was brilliant, but the control the keeper has on a game now has completely changed.
yeah,
To be able to get them shots away, to get hands on ball whenever you're under pressure becomes a hell of a lot more difficult with the large arc. And as you say, being able to stretch and spread the play and find them pockets in between the lines is has become more difficult, because the zone has become a wee bit smaller again with this large arc. Well, not a wee bit, a good bit
yeah,
smaller. There's a huge part where you can't kick to. So that lets the zonal press be a lot more compact, and finding the man in between the lines becomes a hell of a lot more difficult.
yeah. How were you feeling at the start of the year when the goalkeeper was the free man and you were being asked to? Well, I don't think you were being asked, but there was all talk that Michael was being tried in nets. And were you feeling like, geez, I really need to learn something completely new here now for the game?
Yeah, I suppose it was something that I probably haven't worked on that much coming through, because, as I said, I didn't play Gaelic football growing up until I was properly playing Gaelic football until I was 21 or 22 at the time.
Mm,
So obviously that was something I was going to have to add to my game should the rules have stayed.
yeah,
But I'm not, like, as I say, I'm not a goalkeeper that's going to run up the field and kick 2 or 3 points a game.
yeah,
I was happy to be able to offer an outlet and be that spare body to create a switch or whatever it should be. But again, whenever things were coming out of the new rules, it was something that I was going to have to work on. But again, it changed all before we started going properly again. Then
yeah. Did you give out to Michael Murphy? When he was designing these new rules for himself, apparently, like you didn't think about me, Michael. I now have to get up the pitch and score points.
no, no. Listen, as they say, They were all. It was interesting because the rules are brought in to try and improve the game, and I think this championship was brilliant. I think there was a lot of high scoring, and obviously the 2 point arc brings in a lot more long range shooting, I suppose. But again, the opinions can be divided. Like some of the rules are fantastic, and there's other rules where they bring good parts to the game, but they're also a negative element to it, I suppose. And that's only me talking on it from a goalkeeping's point of view. Is
Yeah.
you like to have control when you have the ball in the D, and whenever this large arc came in, the control kind of dwindled away a good bit. Do you know? So again, it was a great challenge this year, and I'm looking forward to next year and seeing what that brings.
Yeah. Obviously, one thing that you do to try and get a bit of control is you putting the ball down the tee and finding Michael Murphy. Is that like a training ground routine? Do you have a set position or play for that, or is it really just a case of looking up and asking, "Where's Michael?"
No, not necessarily. It's one of them things, I suppose. Whenever you see Michael, be it in a one-on-one position, it's a decision you need to make on the pitch yourself.
Mm.
As I say, he's fantastic in the air. So if you see him in a 1v1 situation, it's hard maybe not to give him the ball.
Yeah,
But again, it doesn't come down to look, there's Michael Murphy, we need to kick at him. It's a situation of can you find your spare man, be it a 20-yard kick or be it a 50, 70-yard kick. Your job's to find the spare man and try and unlock the press. And that's initially what it comes down to.
yeah. Do you think Michael will stay on another year? It seemed like
As I say,
Jarlath Burns is writing his goodbye for him on the Hogan Stand steps, but I've always wondered, like, this game suits him and he had a good year.
yeah, well, listen, as I say, Michael will have that decision to make himself.
Mm.
As I say, it'd be fantastic to have him back again, but he'll have to sit down and talk with his family and that and figure out is he going to give it another year or what's he going to do? Your guess is as good as mine, to be honest with you. But as I say, we'll see what comes in the new year.
Mm. Sometimes, Sean, when you're chatting to county players this time of the year, I'm usually asking them, are you enjoying the break? But you're really sort of non-stop. So you're with Donegal going the whole way to the All-Ireland final, the most games played in the championship, like we talked about. Then with Union's won the championship last year. You'll have designs on competing again this year. And even I was looking back to that game last November against Errigal Kieran, where you almost had them beaten down the stretch in Oma, and then you watch them go on and get to the All Ireland final. So, like, it's sort of non-stop for you, and I was wondering, like, how you find that non-stop nature.
I enjoy it. As I say, we got a week off or 2 weeks off there at the end of the season to get a wee break and get a holiday or whatever it was. And after a week, you're itching to get back because you're so used to getting out training, you're so used to getting back involved. And I was just excited to get back involved with unions again at the end of the year because obviously looking back in that Errigal Kieran game, we feel that we probably should have won the game. A couple of mistakes and a couple of probably poor decisions within the game cost us. And seeing them go as far as they did, it left a lot of hurt in our changing room. And as I say, I'm not going to get ahead of myself and say we're going to win Donegal, but
Mm.
we're gonna work hard to try get back there and compete this year again.
Yeah. And if you're going year round, like you sort of are the last few years anyway, how does working in the Garda suit that lifestyle?
Come here again. It's like everything. It's a job that has to be done, and to be fair, anytime I needed time off, it was never an issue. You put in your annual leave and they'll try accommodate you as best you can. And sometimes there's just days that you have to go to work, and it's the same as everything.
Yeah.
You've your days that you have to be there, and that's just it. That you just make it work whenever you can.
Yeah. Are there any benefits to it, like fitness wise or anything like that?
No, no, no benefits to it, I suppose. You have to look after yourself too. Like as I say, it's a nice job to have. It's an active job, but obviously it can be a quite difficult job at times too.
Yeah.
So it's just trying to work out that balance. Sometimes it can be difficult, and sometimes it falls out nicely for you.
Yeah, I was on to Brendan Devaney just before I chatted to you. He didn't give me any secrets, don't worry, but he did say you were doing like different roles sometimes in there. He might have that completely wrong, but he said your job sort of mixed up as well, is it?
Well, as I say, over the past number of months, I've been part of kind of a community policing unit, so based out of the whole of Inishowen we cover, I suppose, and what we're doing is obviously going around schools and giving them kind of advice around internet safety and, you know, being safe on their mobile phones because obviously kids are getting their mobile phones very young these days, and
Yeah.
it can be a dangerous world out there for them. It's kind of give them a bit of advice around what to look out for, stuff like that, and obviously going to helping vulnerable members of the community then as part of our role as well. So come here, I've thoroughly enjoyed that role, and over the next number of months, we'll figure out if I'll be going back to the normal place or if I can continue on the role that I'm doing at the minute.
That's very interesting. And what age group are you working with in those schools?
Well, you would work between obviously you've different programs for different age groups. So you would go through kind of introduce your role as a guard up to kids at maybe 8 or 9, 10.
Wow.
Introduce your role and kind of let them see that the guards are there to help them. As I say, because the negative press the Garda get a lot of the time is it's probably not right. And as I say, we're there to try to help people, and we want to let the kids know that at a young age. But whenever it comes to mobile safety and internet safety, you like to it's going to be the older age group, so it's going to be kids that are probably coming to the end of their primary school lessons
Yeah.
and starting into secondary school. And obviously, the whole way through secondary school, we try let them understand how dangerous it can be, not just on mobile phones, but just even on iPads and
Yeah.
gaming online and stuff like that. It can be a scary world, but obviously, trying to educate them and that side of things is a huge part of it now.
That's great. I didn't even think it. Sometimes when you talk to somebody who's working in the Gardaí and I just sort of think of you out patrolling on the streets. And when I heard you were in Kilmany, I was like, oh, lovely. But then I didn't think about that aspect of going to schools and obviously the nature of you're probably dealing with a lot of internet stuff then, are you? Internet safety stuff?
Yeah, well, like that's become part and parcel of society now. I suppose it's like no, there's nobody that doesn't have a mobile phone anymore, and
Yeah.
whenever you're dealing with people, they're constantly on their phones, I suppose, and it's just one of them things. It's trying to educate people as to what's safe and what's not safe, because at the end of the day, you don't want somebody being affected in their life by something that could be hugely avoidable.
Yeah.
You know, obviously, it's a fantastic role within the organization to be able to try bring that education towards kids and even the more vulnerable members of the community. I'm sure you've received texts about scams and stuff like that. It's trying to just educate people on that kind of side of things.
Yeah. And is it better or harder than working in Michael Murphy's sports shop?
No, as I say, that them days were hard earned. Now, to be fair, and Murphy's how they work me to the bone. Hey, definitely. No, you know what? It's I really enjoy my job, and it's something that I'm enjoying doing at the minute, and it's a fantastic organization to work for. Whenever you do see it on the good side of it, like there's every member that I work with, they're there to try help people as best they can. Like, and sometimes people forget that they see them in a negative role, but as I say, sometimes that's just the nature of the job.
Yeah. Are you happy to be back in Donegal? Because I remember, I think you were in Navan, and I live in North County Dublin, so you can imagine the rumours that fly around, when there's a county player that's been posted somewhere different outside the county. It's like Shaun Patton's transferring here and he's transferring there. Maybe we should contact him and get him to transfer to us. So you're probably happy to get away from all that nonsense.
Like as I say, when I got to Navan, I enjoyed me. I was there 3 years or whatever I was,
Yeah.
but as I say, there was never any doubt that I was going to be transferring away from St. Junans. As
Yeah.
I say, we're always wanting to, like, for the club we are, we're always wanting to compete for county titles, and we probably haven't won as many as we possibly could have over the years. And obviously, with stiff competition with Neve Connell up here and Guidor over the past number of years, it's been a hard fought championship. So
Yeah.
I always wanted to play for Units whenever I joined back, and there was never any doubt that I was going to transfer. So it wasn't so. But now I'm absolutely delighted to be back up in Donegal. It's fantastic to be up here again.
Yeah, it's one of those ones. Since I've moved to Dublin, I'm not from Donegal, but I'm very fond of because I'm from the northwest. And when I'm in Dublin and I hear of people who are moving back to the northwest, I'm always sort of envious of them and think, that they're going to really love that. Like, do you have a bit of that in Donegal?
Listen, when I moved away, I never had any intention of staying away from
Yeah,
Donegal. It's where I always wanted to be, and hopefully in the coming future, I can get a house built or buy a house or whatever we're going to do, and and get settled down properly. And as I say, that's me. I have a job up here now for the rest of my life, all going well. And
Yeah.
as I say, I'm quite happily settled here.
Yeah, I can't let you go without asking you, as a Derry man, last year, Celtic Park, could you believe what you were seeing in front of you? I mean, you've basically single handedly caused the destruction of Derry's rise.
Geez, I don't think so now. There was a lot of things went right for us on that day, I suppose, and maybe a lot of things that went wrong for Derry. But as I say, they're not just going to go away. They've some fantastic players in there too. That they're going to come again. It's as simple as that, and that's
Uh,
just the way Ulster football seems to run. Hey, everybody has their periods, and as I say, Derry's not just going to lie down. They're going to come hard
uh,
again, and obviously they'll be aiming to get out of Division Two this year and push hard for the championship again.
I appreciate that, Sean. Thank you. I, you turned 30 last week. Did I have that right?
Yeah, yeah, I'm getting on in life now.
Yeah.
Hey, I suppose 30 there last was a Friday, I think, passed. So yeah, it's not fun getting old, to be honest.
Do you feel different? Like is this not good when you're a goalkeeper? You're now coming into your prime, 30,
I
30
should
to
be, yeah,
42.
yeah. That's what everybody keeps saying. Hey, you should be coming into my
Yeah.
prime. But as I say, we'll soon see over the next couple of years, I suppose.
Yeah, I was thinking Cluxton's 42. If you were to do that, you'll have 20 years of service for Donegal
20
then.
years, yeah, yeah, yeah. Well, you never know. Hey, I'll never say never.
There's the headline. I'll never say never.
There we are. Right.
Yeah. Here, Sean, thank you very much. That was absolutely brilliant, and fair play to you for all the work you're doing, I suppose, in your day-to-day life as well.
No, thanks very much for having me on. Hey.